Hi, folks. God bless you. Love to everybody out there, and hope everybody's okay. Um, I'm just touching base today. I just want to talk for maybe 10, 15, maybe a bit longer on the issue of nationalism and Christianity. The reason being, when I was doing street preaching in Manchester uh, on Saturday, uh, I met two nationalists in the nationalist cause, uh, John Lawrence and uh, I think James Goddard, and we had a chat and an interview, and they interviewed me, and I want to go over that interview that James Goddard did with me. I want to give my opinions about it and some thoughts about nationalism and Christianity. And I don't pretend to have all the answers. I don't pretend to know all the answers, but I want to give my perspective. So if you turn to Romans, Romans chapter 14, I think it is. Oh yeah, Romans chapter 13. Sorry, it says, "Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. While thou then not be afraid of the power, do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore you must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. As for this cause, pay tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all the Jews tribute, to whom tribute is due, custom, to whom custom, fear, to whom fear, honor, to whom honor." So, and then it says, Romans 13:10, "Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law." Let us, verse 13, Romans 13:13, "Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting or drunkenness, not in chambering or wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put you on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof." Just to say before we begin, I want to recommend a couple of books, not on nationalism or anything, but um, on the Trinity, Delighting in the Trinity. It's by Tim Chester, and you can get it from the Good Book Company, Tim Chester. If you want to learn about the Trinity, it's really, really good. A couple of books that I'm reading while here in UK. I'm reading this at the moment, Historical Theology by William Cunningham, and it gives you an outline of the history of theology. And you can get them from the Banner of Truth, and it's really interesting history of theology. And also an apologetics book, Evidence That Demands a Verdict, by Josh McDowell. Please get hold of that book if you want to defend the faith, yeah. And I will recommend some more books as time goes on in this video. So it's actually a book here, Church and State. I'll just put that there, sorry. So So I just want to talk about the interview that I had with James. I just want to talk about that for a few minutes, my overall perception and thoughts, and then I just want to share a little bit about the Christian perspective and the issues with the church and with nationalism. So I think the issue of nationalism and Christianity is a very, very difficult topic. It's not an easy topic. Because the reason being, if you go on one side or the other, you can soon be in dangerous waters. Okay, so I'm going to come to that in a minute. But my overall thoughts about this interview with John and James Goddard. I've been in touch with John a few times on the internet. I've met John and we kind of hit it off. So, John, hope you're okay, bro. And he's a nice guy. He's a very sincere guy, very passionate about social injustice. And that's his heart, is he wants to address the social injustices. And he feels that if you tackle the powers that be and just get them to think about what they're doing, then a lot of the problems, social problems, will sort themselves out. And I think that there's some truth in that. I think that um, the establishment and the leaders of our nation are causing a lot of problems, not thinking things through what they're doing. So the neglect of Christianity in the nation, the promoting of um, just wanting to change the nation really into their kind of ideology, their way of thinking, and jettison Christianity um, is causing problems, and a lot of other social issues are going on that they're not addressing. So I think John, who's a nationalist, is right to be concerned about those things. Uh, for example, the turning a blind eye to people who are being sexually groomed is not right, and that some nationalists have pointed this out, and it's right to do so. It's absolutely right to do so. So I agree with that. But my discussion with James, um, I've not met James before. I've seen quite a bit of his videos, so hope you're okay, James. But in the interview, I had to go to see my dad. My dad was going to pick me up at a certain place at 6 p.m. And the I think it was about 4:30 the interview. So I was conscious that I needed at least an hour and a half to get back to my home to meet my father. So I said I haven't got long. So we had about 20 minutes. So in that 20 minutes in the interview, there were some things said that I didn't agree with James, but because it was a short interview, I just let it pass. But there were some things I would have liked to have challenged James on, or have at least questioned. And so I want to take this opportunity to maybe go over the interview, think it through, and give you my perspective if I would have had longer to be able to ask questions and critique James a little bit. I think one of the things that came out in the interview is that there were police officers walking past, and James was quite derogatory to the police officers. Now, um, I know if there's injustice, if there have been children being abused, and the police have not done anything, um, challenging the police, speaking about that, it is right and fair. But to treat police officers generally disrespectfully, I don't agree with that. I believe that it's nice to be nice. It's good to be nice. So if I'd have had opportunity, I would have, and time, I would have questioned James on that. I would have said, no, bro. You know, we can't antagonize people like that. That's not a good thing. Okay, as a street preacher, as a minister of the gospel, there's something that I can't agree with. I think, and then the other thing as well is when James said, um, on the issue concerning, we help the Christians but not the Muslims in terms of sending stuff to Africa to help people. That's something that I didn't agree with. I think that we help anybody. There are people who have been Muslim that have helped me. There have been Muslims that have. I remember preaching in Rochdale, and a Muslim elderly man with his grandson. Um, they went to the shop and bought me a drink and gave me a drink. So you can't tar people with all the same brush, and we should help all people. If the gay community in Africa is starving, we should send them food. If the Muslim community is starving in Africa, we should send them food. So I don't agree with this. We'll only send Christians aid, not the Muslims. I think that's way beyond any rational thinking, to be honest. So I wanted to put the record straight on those two. The third one I wanted to put the record straight is ethno-nationalism. When James mentioned ethno-nationalism, is something I didn't agree with. I believe that it's important that people in their own country should feel comfortable and that they should be able to celebrate their own identity and culture. And I believe that we should be very careful not to just push people out who've lived there for many hundreds of years and destroy their culture. So I agree with that, but to take it that step further, where you're gonna say you repatriate people, i.e. Muslims and stuff, I think is very dangerous. The reason being is because the Church of Jesus Christ, there's all types of colors, all types of races, all types of people, black, white, Chinese, Japanese. Jesus doesn't discriminate. So you can go into any local church, you'll find Chinese, Arabian, uh, uh, people from India, people from all walks of life, from different parts of the world, just in one church. So the church is international. So that's just basic thing. So to say that you can't have other people come into your country and that you're going to repatriate people, that goes against what the church is about. The church is about all types, all colours. Secondly, that the idea of repatriation, to be honest, it you know, it reminds me of the time of Bonhoeffer. You know, in the time of Bonhoeffer, I'm not saying James is Nazi or anything like that, but I'm just saying that the danger of this ethno-nationalism. Hitler and the Nazis, they had issues with the immigration of the Jews in their country, and they wanted to be pure Aryan, and that led to the persecution of that minority and minorities, and it led to the it led to a lot of mass killings of people. It led to a lot of persecution of minorities, and it even went on to be leading into a Second World War. Now, I believe James doesn't mean it to be like that. I don't think James has any intention of going down the Nazi viewpoint. But what I'm saying is ethnic nationalism uh, is dangerous. It can be very dangerous if taken into the wrong group or the wrong guy, the wrong leaders. So I don't agree with that. Um, and again, I just want to say that I did say that it's right to stick up for your nation. It's right to want to bless your nation, help your nation. Yeah, but you've got to be very careful politically how you do that. And you've got to think things through very carefully how you're going to do that, how you're going to preserve your culture, how you're going to preserve your nation. And we're going to get into that in a minute. And if you go down a nationalist route where it's not rooted and grounded in biblical truth and biblical Christianity, then it'll end up that nationalism will end up persecuting minorities and even doing evil to minorities. Um, so, so in the conversation with James, there were these things that I picked up like that I was a bit uncomfortable with. Even though it was nice talking to him, and I enjoy talking to John. Um, and I think that John would have been happy for me, and James would have been happy for me to dialogue with them, but it was just out of time, and I'm doing it now because I've got a funeral tomorrow, then I've got to meet my mum and my dad, and the next day I've only got another week before I go back to Ghana. I haven't got a lot of time because James would have been happy for me to go on his show and talk about things, but I just haven't got the time. And if I do get a bit of time, I just make a video here and there. But I haven't got a lot of time to do research and then go on a show and give that research. If I'm going on a show, I'd like to do some research on it, you see. Somebody on the phone downstairs. Just give me a second.
It's Nigel, Jay. I was wondering if you could come in half an hour.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's okay. Okay, then. I'll see you in half an hour. It's M24. M24. Yeah, 24. 4QL. L. Yeah. 107. Yeah. Okay, well, see you in a bit. Bye. Bye. See you in a minute.